we talked about that, and stressing less and enjoying life more, becoming sane and a little bit silly. Don't you love to laugh? My friend humorist Loretta LaRoche did she did 8 PBS specials. And Loretta is a humorist. And she said, here's what her grandmother told her about aging. She said, as you age, you develop the furniture disease, which is when your chest falls into your drawers. And, and I love that because I think we have to celebrate our bodies all the way along, but part of that is to have a sense of humor. And when you look in the mirror, I always think of Loretta's line. And then I think, I have a beautiful body for my age, an age-appropriate body. Okay, so the very things that renew your telomeres also reduce inflammation. Any measure that you look at, these are the basic 5 steps that we need to do in order to turn back the clock and not only live longer, but live healthier, live better. And I also have to say, there's a lot of luck involved in this. Not everybody who does all these things is going to live long. So one unfortunate example of that was J.I. Rodale, who was one of the first people to talk about sustainable agriculture and eating organic. Nothing is going to cause us to live forever. It's just part of the human life cycle. We're here, we go. I personally think when we drop the spacesuit of our body, our consciousness remains. But whatever you believe, the idea is to have a good time while you're here and do good when you're here. All right, I wanted to talk a little bit to you about stress hardiness, because if stress is such a bad actor, how can we learn to be more stress hardy? We're generally more stress hardy as we get older, by the way, because we're happier. But it would be good to start that younger. Rick Hanson, who wrote Buddha's Brain and he wrote Hardwired for Happiness, said you can change your brain away from looking at a bad event as a threat and more toward looking at it as a challenge. And that's what I've done over time. My main thought is, how can I keep my peace of mind? How can I keep my equanimity? And so what I learned from Rick Hanson is when you have a good event, you stop to savor it. You take it in. Because the truth is, we all suffer from something called the negativity bias. And the way Rick Hanson puts it is he said, you know, it's a survival thing. We have to look out for what could do us in. So we have a bias toward looking for the negative. And therefore, the good things that happen during the day, the smile of a stranger, for example, float off. They're like Teflon. But the bad things stick like Velcro. But you can change that. If you savor the good, these little drops of goodness throughout the day, and by savor them, feel them with your whole body, the whole sense of them, and then just stick with it for 10 or 20 seconds. Don't let your attention wander. Stay with those good feelings. Those get installed. Rick calls this installing the good, and it changes your brain circuits. And pretty soon, you start to orient more toward the good, and you're more grateful. If you do that before bed at night, just bring up one thing you're grateful for that happened during the day, and stick with it. It's such a great way to go to sleep. And I learned that exercise probably 35 years ago from Brother David Steindl-Rast, who wrote a marvelous book called Gratefulness, the Heart of Prayer. And that gratefulness, by the way, is also correlated with longevity. Minding your brain, this is the last topic that I really want to talk about. The same things that give us joy, that reduce our stress, that lengthen our telomeres and reduce inflammation, also help guard the brain against dementia. And the fact is that 1 out of every 10 people 65 years or older has dementia. And that 10% of the population is a pretty big part. Another part of minding your brain is sleep. Getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep is important because that's when the brain clears out the amyloid protein that makes the plaques in the brain related to Alzheimer's, and clears out also the tangles of tau protein. So all that house cleaning is happening as you sleep. And that's why it's important too, if you happen to have sleep apnea, to get it treated, because disrupting your sleep is not a good idea. We talked about avoiding toxins and also avoiding indoor smoke. And this is one of the socioeconomic things. People who have to heat their house with wood actually have more problems in terms of dementia because of the inhalation of the wood smoke. Also, people who live with a lot of outdoor air pollution have got some of the same problems. And throughout, we can keep increasing our brain cells. That happens through a hormone called BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a Mediterranean-type diet, heavy on vegetables and whole foods, green tea, curcumin from turmeric, omega-3 fatty acids, walnuts, avocados, all of the coffee, red wine, all of these wonderful things actually help mind your brain. And the last thing I just want to say is the most important thing to mind our spirit. The most important questions we come to ask is, who am I? Why am I here? How can I help? Viktor Frankl wrote the book on man's search for meaning. And I think, my God, that man had such a difficult life. His whole family was killed in the Holocaust. And he said, I'm here because I have a purpose. I am going to live because I'm going to get out of here and teach resilience. And he did. And so I think for all of us, we need to be able to say, I am truly a spiritual being having a human experience. When I develop compassion for myself and others and look for ways to help, that makes the world a better place. And regardless of what happens later, that's our job now, to each help the world be a better place.